We're live.
Okay, good evening everybody and welcome to the Licensing Committee today on the 28th of January. We've got a fairly short but important agenda. So the first thing I'm going to ask is, are there any apologies for absence?
None, Chair.
Okay, that's good. Any declarations of pecuniary interest?
Nope.
Nope, that's good. So the minutes of the last meeting, what do you guys reckon? You happy with them?
Agreed.
There you go. That's as easy as that. There were no matters arising that I'm aware of. Were there? No. Okay, so I'll sign those off in time. So straight on to agenda item 4, which is the main business tonight. This is a special treatment premises licenses, basically tattoo parlors and that kind of thing. But I'd like, who's going to talk to us about them? Caroline?
Yeah, I will, Chair. I've got my line manager here, Helen, to assist if you've got any complex queries, because she brought the report way back last year in June. So I'm mindful. Did you want me to take you through the report, Chair? Or
Yeah, I mean, give us an overview. I mean, well, we've all read it, I'm sure. But if you just give us an overview of how what difference it's going to make to Merton.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yeah, so I've just written a few notes, some pertinent points to flag up for you in the report. When we implemented the Merton and Richmond Wandsworth Regulatory Services Partnership, we decided to review the process for special treatment licenses for the tri-borough and to introduce a single system of licensing. Members will recall that on the 9th of June, this was considered by the committee, which outlines this proposal tonight. And members at that meeting, they agreed to allow us to do a consultation with existing license holders, and the following options were also allowed at that meeting: the adoption of the new standards conditions, the adoption of the regulations for governing the applications for the grant, renewal, transfer, and variation of the special treatment licenses and their determination, to amend the license to specify the category of treatment that can be carried out at the premises, rather than to specify every particular treatment. The committee at that meeting also noted the proposal for the fee structure should be changed from the current system based on the number of people who can be treated on the premises at any one time, with additional charge for some high-risk treatment based on the risk of treatment that was more accurately to reflect the actual cost of administering these their special treatment licenses. The consultation, members, was undertaken and is now been complete. All the license holders were actually informed of the proposals. This took place last year, late August and early September. The deadline for the comments for all the license holders was on the 18th of October last year. This consultation, we carried out this consultation when all the businesses were open, so we didn't carry out when the COVID restriction were imposed. At that time, everybody was open and operating. No negative comments were received from all the special treatment license holders for Merton. Similar consultations were carried out for Richmond and Wandsworth, and we received 3 representations for Richmond premises, which we will be taking to the regulatory committee in Richmond next month. But out of the comments that we received, we made some small modification to the draft conditions, which are attached in the report, and no changes have been made otherwise to all the proposals that we put forward. Under the new proposed fee structures, premises will now be split in 3 bands based on the risk of the treatment that's carried out and also the treatment that's being offered at the premises. This is also taken into consideration the inspections that are being carried out. All the information about the fee structure is detailed in the report, Chair, which is on paragraphs 2.23, 2.24 and 2.25 of the report. the proposed fees that we've put through, Chair, they actually reflect the cost of administering the special treatment licenses. And what we actually do every year, we do a proposed fee structure that we take to the Director of Environment and Regeneration in February to consider our proposals. But we wanted to run this by the committee tonight to take that consideration of what we are proposing. If the fees and all the proposals are approved, they will take effect from the 1st of April this year. So we have obviously written this report for the members tonight for consideration on the following options. To adopt the standard conditions for the special treatment licenses as set out in Appendix B of the report, which will take effect from the 1st of April. We are also asking for the proposed fee structure to take effect from the 1st of April, and to recommend that these levels of fees can be approved by the Director of Environment and Regeneration in February this year, and these are set out in Appendix A of the report. And also to confirm that the adoption of the regulations governing the applications for the grant, renewal, transfer, and variation of special treatment licenses, these to be produced in Appendix C of the report and to take effect from the 1st of April. And to also confirm the approval that broad categories of treatments will be licensed to take effect from 1st of April this year, and also to take effect from the date of the next renewal for each license. And that's just a brief outline of the pertinent points, Chair, for you.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. That's very comprehensive, I think. Questions, colleagues? Any questions? Una first, and then Russell. If you unmute yourself, Graham.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for this report. I think it's very comprehensive, and I won't go over it. It was just purely to ask one simple question. They all look sensible, and I know it's good to note that we hadn't had negative comments. But given that these proposals are going through Richmond and Wandsworth as well, are we, where I just wondered really, out of info, where we were with Richmond and Wandsworth. Have they passed the proposals ahead? I don't think Richmond have, because I think I noted that they've got some other negative comments or something.
Yeah, so,
and also whether we're all going for the same fee structure. I wasn't quite clear on that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor. So the proposals have been passed through Wandsworth, and they were approved last year. And we're going for the same basic fee structure, but obviously the charges in terms of the licensing hours and the charges for each licensing authority, the licensing officers, that's taken also into account. But in Richmond, they will be considered on the 9th of February, and we've streamlined the process. It's the same process across the 3 boroughs. Does that answer your question, Councillor?
Russell, your question.
Okay.
My question is, as somebody new to the committee, I'd like to say thank you for the report. It's very wide ranging. One of the things that stands out to me is that hairdressers are also included. Is that deliberate, or do they not need a special license?
The hairdressers are regulated differently under the Health and Safety team, and they don't fall within the London Authorities Act 1991. So, but they are regulated, but we don't actually license them. It's under a different licensing regulatory enforcement. We only do special treatments, and hairdressers don't fall within that description of a special treatment.
Right, and presumably gyms and things that have massage, like Wimbledon Leisure, for example, I've got a massage facility.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do license massage treatments, and yes, so if organizations or premises are offering that, then they would come on our radar, and then obviously they'll fall within these the new process that we're proposing.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I've got a couple very simple ones. First of all, Richmond. You had 3 representations from Richmond. What were those representations?
I think there were representations were mainly about tattooing and high risk premises. Basically, the licensees were not happy with the new process, but obviously special treatment tattooing are quite high. It's a high risk in terms of special treatment licenses, and they come into a high risk band. We can't reduce the risk banding for them and the charges because it takes a lot of time for officers to go in and do the inspections to make sure all the treatments are set up. So they're always in a high risk part of the special treatment. Those are the kind of representations we receive.
Okay, that's fine. That's and the other question I had is this is a really difficult one. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask you to be approximate rather than precise, obviously. But these new fees, how much more will it bring into Merton? I mean, given that we are doing it at cost, how much are we doing? How much more money is going to come in?
We've not actually projected how much, because we don't know how much we're going to receive in terms of renewals, because what we need to be mindful, Chair, and the members, is that some premises might not actually trade after the lockdown is lifted. So to project how much we're going to get, really, it is really difficult across the licensing board, really, because we've got premises that are lost businesses, and equally we're getting more premises that are coming on board to start businesses. So it will fluctuate. It's a difficult one. I can report back maybe at the next meeting.
only actually, Caroline, you've hit a nail on the head that I was going to talk about very briefly later. Yeah. And I think you're comparing apples and oranges. That's what you're saying, really. I understand. I'm sorry I asked the question.
No, it's all right. It's just that we at a different time, pre-lockdown, pre-COVID, we had a very good idea of how much income we were going to receive, but at the moment it's very difficult to predict.
I do understand that. Stephen, you had your hand up.
Yes. Let me go first. John,
you go first.
Thank you, John. Caroline, thank you for that. Really good, concise, and a way forward. All businesses are important in the 3 boroughs, and I'm delighted with the regulatory service that's being led by the London Borough of Merton for Richmond and for Wandsworth. You said that the director will be settling the fees in February. Will he or she be doing that in liaison with the chair of licensing or with the relevant cabinet member?
Usually the way they're set, I mean, my line manager Helen will back me up, will help me on this, because I'm new to the RSPs, as you can tell, on the starter license. But my understanding is the fees are set, and they're set to the executive director to make that final decision on the fee structure for discretionary license fees that we offer. MST is one of them, street trading, and all the licenses we do. But I'll just double check that with Helen, whether they are done in conjunction with the chair or the chief exec.
Yeah, we did double check this with Chris Lee, because Chris Lee is the director of environment regeneration, and because we weren't too sure whether we should bring the fees to the committee or to Chris, given that he normally would be setting the fees, but he was quite happy for us to bring the fees to the committee, because this is a change in structure and a new regime, so he wanted you to be aware of what the changes were. But he sees himself as being the person ultimately who makes that decision on the fees.
Thank you very much.
John, you had a question.
Yes, Chair, this is my first time on the committee, and I would just like to know if all the boroughs charge the same fee, or say Richmond can charge more, Wandsworth can charge less, or whatever. Will we charge the same?
Hit the nail on the head there, John. Difficult one to answer.
Shall I answer that one too, Caroline?
Yes, please.
There's a very slight difference in the fees, and it's very much down to the fact that there's just a slight difference in the way that the 3 boroughs recharge for the costs of their part of the service.
Yes.
So the fees are roughly in line, but there is slight variation, I would suggest.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, if there aren't any more questions, what I'm going to do is go through very briefly the recommendations. Okay, recommendations that we adopt the standard conditions for special treatment premises licenses as set out in Appendix B to take place on the 1st of April, April Fool's Day. Agreed with that?
Great.
Agreed.
No dissent. Then second one, that we approve the proposed fee structure to take effect from the 1st of April as set out in Appendix A.
Agreed.
Agreed.
And confirming the adoption of the regulations governing applications for grant, renewal, transfer and variation of special treatment licenses as set out in Appendix C to take place on the 1st of April.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Agreed? Yay.
Thank you, members.
I think we're going to get a full house here. And well, first of all, to confirm approval that the broad categories of treatments will be licensed to take effect on the 1st of April, or the date of the first renewal thereafter. Agreed?
Agreed.
Fantastic.
Thank
See,
you.
that is effectively the business of the meeting. Am I right or am I wrong?
That is, Chair. Thank you.
There is, however, a very what it says here is miscellaneous matters, and I have a very short but important miscellaneous matter for you. First of all, how many of us went to Philip Colvin's thing last week? Just stick your hand up.
Do you mean the training, Chair?
Training, yeah.
Training day last Friday. Yeah.
Well, was it brilliant or what?
It was
It was
brilliant.
really, really good. So on behalf of the committee, I think I'd like to thank Philip Colvin QC for his incisive and entertaining training session. I'd also like to thank the licensing team for making it possible, because I think that was really, really worthwhile. We probably learned more about licensing than we truly needed to know. I came out of it feeling like I could do an officer's job as well, but don't worry, I can't.
One question.
You're welcome, Chair.
One question, Chair. Where was he operating from? He said he was 4 hours behind us, and at the end of our session, he said that he was going to have his breakfast.
Yeah.
So I'd just like to know where he's living right now.
Well,
Just as a matter of interest.
I'd imagine Helen or Caroline could answer that. Any ideas?
We didn't get a chance.
No? Oh, all right.
We didn't get a chance to capture him at the end. So.
Trying to debrief him, and he just disappeared really quickly.
Oh, well.
I think it was East
somewhere in the
Coast
Mediterranean.
America. That's my bet.
Yeah, where were you say? Sorry.
East Coast on America.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's what Becky said. But the one thing to bring you back that he really gave us food for thought on, and it's what Caroline has referred to just now as well, is that there's an awful lot going to be happening to the entertainment and hospitality industries because of this pandemic. I mean, there are a lot, and I do mean a lot, of businesses that just aren't going to survive. And he outlined what he felt that licensing could do on a strategic basis to help rebuild after the pandemic, to make sure that what we end up with is we want to see it's a tragedy. Of course, it's a tragedy. It's very, very difficult, but it's also an opportunity, because we don't necessarily have to replace like for like. We can actually vision out the kind of town that we want. We can only do it from a high level. We can only do it strategically. We can't go along the high street and say, I want that there and that there. We can determine what kind of town centres that we want, and what kind of entertainment, what kind of food, etc., that we'd like. We'd like our residents to enjoy, and there is a role for for licensing within that. There's a role for planning within that, obviously, and there's a role for people like Future Merton, as well as obviously the private sector, to all working together. But we do actually have that kind of role. What I'd like people to do is to take that thought away, because we're not going to discuss it now, and see what visions you will have for the future, so we can actually work positively towards rebuilding Merton after this pandemic. Stephen, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just very quickly, if we could ask Helen or Caroline or Guy to look at that report from the QC, see where his heart and his emotions start to speak about the future, about COVID, see if he's made any kind of suggestions on that. Obviously, we have tenets within licensing that we need to adhere to, public order, safety, but as Nick said, there was some emotion there from him about how licensing can, whether it's frequency, whether it's length of meetings, whether it's more communication with businesses. We don't want to touch the tenets of licensing, but I would urge the officers just to go through his presentation again and bring out for us, perhaps in one side of A4, just if he did make any recommendations post-COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, happy with that?
Yeah. Fine.
So, John?
Sure, yes, I think what we need to consider is how do we attract businesses to our town centres. Mitcham is in desperate need of business in the town centre, packed with hairdressers and barber shops. And by 6 o'clock in the evening, the whole town centre is dead. So that's what we need to do, to determine how can we attract business to our town centre.
Well, John, there are some things that licensing can do, some things that licensing can't do, and it's exactly some things that planning can do and some things
That's what I was wondering.
So really it's a question of how we get, as councillors, how we get people to work together to rebuild. It's going to be a mammoth task. We're not going to get it sorted out tonight, I can tell you that for a fact.
Thank you.
But I'm just putting down that pointer that this is, as well as being a very, very, very difficult thing indeed to do, it's also an opportunity. And what we need to do as councillors is help the officers as much as we can to really grasp that opportunity.
Thank you very much. Okay.
All right. Are you any other questions on that?
Nope.
Okay. Well, thank you very much indeed. I've noticed that Paul Kohler has got an amazing green light. Are you turning punk rock again? sorry, I had to say that. That's a bit of a passing shot. Has anybody else got anything they need to say tonight? Otherwise, it really is going to be a superbly short meeting.
I have to say, Nick, this is the shortest meeting I ever attended.
Well done. Thank you.
Well, there you go. I'll take pride in that. I'm always accused of being long-winded, so there you go. Right. Thank you very much indeed, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night. See you all.